Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of this beautiful country that you're in. You're watching Rebel Roundup, our daily news and opinion show. I'm your host, Sheila Gunn Reid, and I'm joined by my beautiful co-host in Regina, Saskatchewan, my real life best friend, my partner in crime, Lise Merle. Lise, how's it going?
Well, hello, my beloved Sheila Gunn Reid, and hello, Rebel fam. Sheila, I am so excited because we are going to be seeing you in two sleeps. In two sleeps. Should we tell the people what we're doing on
Sure.
Friday
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
Saturday?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, as many people in Western Canada know, our friends over there at the Sean Newman podcast are hosting an event in Calgary on Saturday called the Cornerstone Forum. This is going to be an entire humongous ballroom filled with the best thinkers and the best, brightest ideas. And we're going to be having a lot of conversations that Doug Ford would frown upon. But the Friday before, okay, this is in 2 sleeps from now, we at Rebel News and our friends from the Sean Newman podcast will be hosting a pre-game mixer at Two Rivers Distillery, okay, the best little freedom loving distillery in all of Calgary. And we would love to see you guys there. So
Yep.
if you're in the Calgary area, if you're going to the corner, especially if you're going to the Cornerstone Forum, we would love to see you.
But even if you can't make the Cornerstone Forum and you just want to say, hey, come.
Have some tips and talks with us. Like, we would love to see you on Friday evening, 7 o'clock at Two Rivers Distillery in Calgary. And the owner, Mark, I got to give a shout out to the owner, Mark. When you get to talking with somebody, you think it's going to be a 5-minute conversation. Next thing you know, it's 2 hours, and you literally have everything in common. And you think, well, there's my soul brother. Like, there he is. That is owner Mark from Two Rivers. He is the best guy. He was from Ontario, went through Saskatchewan, now in Alberta, and he runs this great little distillery that we're going to have a fantastic time at on Friday evening. So yes, if you can join us, dear viewers, we would love to see you. Again, that's 7 o'clock on Friday evening at Two Rivers Distillery in Calgary.
Great. Okay, I should tell everybody what we're doing today. Now, if you're watching us on the wonderful free speech platform of YouTube, no, YouTube is the censorship one, the great free speech platform of Rumble. Thank you for sticking it out there. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you supporting a platform that cares about your human right to speak your own mind. You can support the work that we do over there, because as you know, we'll never take a penny from any level of government to do the work that we do to hold governments to account. So we rely on you. If you'd like to leave us a Rumble rant, that's their paid chat over there. It helps us keep the lights on, but it also democratizes the show. It allows you to have your say, because if it's over the $5 US cutoff, we're reading it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our best to make time. And if you tuned into the show yesterday, which was nearly 2 hours long, we make time, or at least we do our best to make time. And if you are watching us on the censorship-ish platform of YouTube, they're getting better, but I'm a grudge holder. We are recently remonetized over there. So if you would prefer to support our work by way of a super chat, you can do that. Same rules apply about the $5 cutoff. Or if you're watching the recording of the show after the fact, you can leave us a super thanks. That's their paid comment. All right. Busy show, as it was yesterday. Separatism. That's all that's happening right now. I just filmed TGS, which is our internal lingo for The Gun Show, which airs on Wednesdays. It sits behind the Rebel News Plus paywall, which is only $8 a month, by the way, which is like a coffee a week.
That's such a good investment, guys. I'm telling you, I get more use out of that $8, like on that little platform, than I do on all of the others combined. So if you're not a subscriber, do consider it. If you're watching this show and you like it, you're just going to love it. So
yeah, you get Ezra every night. You get me every Wednesday, and a bunch of our premium content, like our documentaries hiding behind there. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com to subscribe. But I get it. You're poorer than ever. The Liberals were reelected. So if you need a free version of this, we always put the audio up for free on a podcast. But it's funner.
That's convenient for all the guys in tractor jail right now. There are a bunch.
It is tractor jail.
You can listen to all of the audio for free.
Yeah, all the audio is free, although my expressions are much better on video. But anyways, today I interviewed Michael Wagner, who is a historian of Western separatism. He's got 2 books, and he sort of talks about how it ebbs and flows, where this started, why this is a creation of liberal governments, and not even it's a reaction to things the liberals have done to us. They are responsible for this, and why this time is different. And so, interesting conversation. And if you watch the show, you'll find out how to buy his books. But one of them is on Amazon right now. So Michael Wagner just searches the author. Yeah, it's a great show. But anyway, yesterday the premier held a press conference further to her address to Albertans the night before, where the jackals in the mainstream media, in the legislature press gallery in Edmonton, did their thing and just really pressed her on this issue. Like, basically, how dare you allow Albertans to have their own say in their future? She outlined the province's new Alberta Accord initiative, which seeks to address critical economic reforms with the federal government. So this is they're accusing her of being a separatist, but she's like, no, I'm going to fight with the federal government from within Canada. Here's how I'm going to do it. And the mainstream media is like, but you're a separatist. Like, anyway, let's listen to her.
Yesterday, I shared the bold steps that our government is taking to protect and stand up for Alberta's future with strength and resolve. And this includes the creation of a special negotiating team to represent our province in negotiations with the federal government in pursuit of a new Alberta Accord with Canada. This team will request reforms to guarantee port access to tidewater off the Pacific, Arctic, and Atlantic coasts for Alberta energy and resources, and all federal interference in the development of our provincial resources by repealing harmful federal laws like the No More Pipelines Law, C-69, and the Net Zero Electricity Regulations, require Alberta's consent before imposing any export taxes or restrictions on our resources, and to grant Alberta the same per capita federal transfers as Quebec, Ontario, and British Columbia. We are also launching the Alberta Next panel to explore long-term options for economic and constitutional protections from Ottawa. And we are preparing for a 2026 referendum on key proposals that emerge from these discussions. As most Albertans know, I have repeatedly stated I do not support Alberta separating from Canada. I personally still have hope that there is a path forward for a strong and sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. So I am going to do everything within my power to negotiate a fair deal for Alberta with the new Prime Minister. And while doing so, our government will work with Albertans on various initiatives to better protect Alberta's provincial sovereignty and economy from Ottawa should those negotiations fail and the economic attacks continue.
Well, Ottawa has a ticking clock now, don't they? Before 2026, they must make sure that Alberta has access to tidewater, repeal damaging laws to our economy, give Alberta consent, and reevaluate equalization payments across the country. And what we don't hear the government or Mark Carney saying is that he is going to do any of these things. We have no assurances so far that the federal government is taking this seriously. From Danielle Smith, as a matter of fact, I think that they've communicated the opposite, that this is a frivolous or non-serious movement or woman that they're dealing with, and I think that that's going to come back to bite them in the butt.
Yes. Again, I was talking to Michael about this on the Gun Show this week. And he said, yeah, the ball right now is in the federal government's court. Danielle Smith has laid out her list of demands, and they are not outrageous. In fact, they are saying, give us back the things which are constitutionally within Alberta's purview. We're not asking.
That's right.
We're not asking for special treatment. We're asking you to stay the heck in your lane so that we can do what we need to do to bring Alberta forward, but also to bring the rest of you along with us, because a rising tide floats all boats. And also, we're not asking for anything special that Quebec ain't getting. Like, Quebec right now, according to Mark Carney, and I guess the political leadership in Quebec, they have a veto over what we can and can't do in Alberta. And since when is that okay?
Isn't that crazy?
So the ball's in their court. If the feds want separatism to go away. And I'm not sure they do, actually, because if I were a liberal, I would be like, yeah, if we could get rid of Alberta and Saskatchewan, we would just be liberal forever. And that seems to be okay with these people. But if they wanted it to go away, they would deal with these issues right now, because there are still a lot of people in Danielle Smith's mindset that are willing to give this one more try, who aren't quite yet willing to go the full, like, yes, it's time to go. There are people who are saying, okay, we've done this, we've tried several times, but we have Danielle Smith, who is different than the premiers before.
Yes.
Let's give her one more time. If the feds ignore her on this, it's going to be like separatism like crazy.
Danielle Smith is the game changer in this moment, because she's shown herself to be absolutely committed to listening to the people of Alberta and putting her trust in them to make the right decisions on their own behalf. And I think that the elite Eastern or Ottawa-centric authoritarian government is not taking her as seriously as they perhaps should in this moment. But for sure, she is the thing that makes this movement feel different. We've seen Danielle Smith move mountains in minutes. Okay, this is the kind of woman she is. She doesn't let the naysayers tell her what to do. She doesn't listen to the opposition. This is kind of the difference that Alberta and Saskatchewan have in this moment, is that the Saskatchewan NDP is very, very much running the narrative. And we need to be, as a government of Saskatchewan, way, way out in front of this with Danielle Smith working in lockstep. Because let's not forget, Saskatchewan's ability to negotiate will be so much stronger if we're working at the same time and at the same clip as Alberta. I know we have it in us. We just need the capacity to do it. So I think we're going to talk about Saskatchewan a little bit later. Yeah. But what Danielle Smith is doing is a masterclass on how to make this work. She's given them a firm deadline. 2026 is the firm deadline for the government of Canada to make things right for the people of Western Canada. And if they don't, well, then the people of Western Canada are going to have a say in their own future. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I just was looking up some numbers about BC, which sort of surprised me yesterday. Ooh. Friends, if you're watching, Sid Fizzard has an interesting interview with Dallas Brody. She's one of the independent conservative BC MLAs.
Great. Yeah, she's
great. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. But in January, so this is before the election just now. So take that with what you will, because we saw it go up in BC, which is largely conservative, but controlled by Vancouver, by the crazy people in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. The place is largely conservative. If you look at the map, it's very conservative. In fact, big strides made by the conservative movement on Vancouver Island, of all places.
Crazy.
And I think those, on the other hand, I think those Vancouver Island live and let live hippies were weaponized towards conservatism by COVID, where they're like, actually, no, we don't like big pharma. And we're like, you like big pharma and living off the land? Get over here, you big lug. That's us right. Too. And so anyway, 1 in 4 British Columbia residents think it should be BC first. And that was from January. That ain't nothing. Okay. I bet you that's closer to Alberta numbers now. So interior of BC, they vote as reliably conservative as the rest of us, and we mustn't forget that.
Yeah,
any separatist movement should not leave them behind.
And so we get so many comments on the YouTube and Rumble comment threads about people from BC saying, "Take us with you. We are in. Like, do not leave us behind." Like, come on, buddies, let's go.
I'm old enough to remember very recently when Fort St. John was like, we should be Alberta, like the Peace River region should be united under the Alberta flag. And I get it. I'm not sure why you'd want to be part of BC when you're governed by the lunatics in Vancouver. I completely get it. And the Peace region sort of operates as one region. It's shared industry, shared culture. Yes. It really should be on the same time zone. Sort of the HQ of the Peace region is kind of Grand Prairie, Alberta. So look, I get it. I get why you don't belong. I get that feeling of being a lost Albertan. I truly do.
Of just being out wandering in the wilderness without representation. Like, we feel you, BC. We feel
Yeah.
you. And like, get on board. Like, get yourselves organized and get on board, because our ability to negotiate will be just that much greater with you on board. So we're happy to have you, BC. We're happy to have
scaring your NDP government. Get scaring them right now. Because the NDP politicians across the prairies quite frightened. And we'll talk about that in a second, because Naheed Nenshi, you can tell he's scared, and I hope he is the leader of the Stay movement. I really do.
Same with Carla Beck in Saskatchewan. I'm like, keep yapping, lady. Like, just the best.
Keep cozying up to Ottawa. See what that gets you.
Exactly.
The NDP, which are, like I said, reduced to a party that can cart themselves around in third row seating. Premier Smith warns Albertans not to be divided by external forces while separation sentiment is growing. And this is what I think is important. I think it's more so who and what we are on the prairies, is that we can disagree with each other and not think that we are both evil and wrong. And that has not been the case by progressive politicians with whom we disagree. Justin Trudeau wondering if there should even be space in society for us, calling us all kinds of names. And Naheed Nenshi calling people all kinds of names from time to time. I think this is leadership. But this is a difficult discussion about the future of our province, either with or without the rest of the country. And we should be able to have it without our society unraveling.
In the months ahead, there will be many who will try to sow fear and anger among us, those who want to see Alberta divided. Regardless of what each of us believes about this issue and what path we think is best, we as Albertans must be able to respectfully debate and discuss these issues with our friends, family members, and neighbours. I know that if we do that, in the end, our province will find the best solution for this immense challenge we face and come out of it stronger and more free than ever.
Yeah, calling for respectful debate, whereas the left is calling right now in Saskatchewan. Carla Beck and the Saskatchewan NDP are tabling or are putting forward actual proposed legislation to stop debate, to actually stifle
that right now.
To make it
let's bring it up and talk about it. Yeah.
To make it unlawful. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Saskatchewan NDP wants to censor separatist petition. So what they're calling for, so United Grassroots is a citizen-led group of people in Saskatchewan. They've collected thousands of signatures to call on Scott Moe to hold a referendum, I think, is what their petition is about. And the Saskatchewan NDP are putting forward a piece of proposed legislation to actually make it unlawful to do these things. So what kind, let me just ask you this, guys. What kind of Beijing-style communist tyranny are we talking about here? They want to make it unlawful for normal, everyday, regular Saskies to have these conversations, to accelerate these kind of citizen-led initiatives. And it's insane. Like, it's absolutely insane. To stifle the voices of the people of Saskatchewan, did we dodge a bullet, Saskatchewan? We were within a hair's width of having this lunatic, Carla Beck of the Saskatchewan NDP, as our premier. Like, this is what she would do to us. She would make it unlawful for us to talk about these things, let alone act on them. It is crazy.
Yeah, and like, full disclosure, I know Nadine Ness. She is the leader of Unified Grassroots. I know her husband. She married into a very freedom-minded family, I'll tell you that much.
Such a good family. Yeah, truly.
Her father-in-law went to jail for the right to sell his own grain to whomever he so pleases. And then in doing so, set the rest of us free. He was pardoned by Stephen Harper for the crime under the export laws, which wasn't a crime if you were a farmer in Ontario, by the way. They sold some wheat to a 4-H group in Montana to prove a point. And then they ended up over the border. Then they ended up serving time. So this is the family that she's from.
They literally carried a bag of grain and sold it over the border, and then were arrested for this. And that started the breakdown of the
wheat board,
the wheat pools. Yeah, the wheat pools in Saskatchewan. So freeing farmers and enabled them to be able to sell their own product for the best price. That was Naheed Ness's family. So yeah, she comes from a really, really great family.
Yep, just the greatest people. Jim went to jail for my family. Jim went to jail for my family so that my family didn't have to.
Absolute hero. A legend.
The man is a legend, and he was pardoned by Stephen Harper and thrown in jail by Ralph Goodale, actually, at the time. Ralph was the minister. Yeah, I remember those rallies and the images of the farmers being taken away in handcuffs while their wives and children cried. That is one of the reasons I'm weaponized against the Liberals. But Nadine is right. Every citizen has a right to be heard. Yes, but not according to the NDP in Saskatchewan. You know, what do they think elections are about? And by the way, you literally have your version of a citizen-led initiative on the books in Saskatchewan. People are entitled to do this. This is actually part of democracy. But the NDP don't believe in democracy. They would rather snatch it from you.
That's right. So if you're from Saskatchewan and you're seeing this, Unified Grassroots was sort of born in the terrible dark days of COVID. They've been really, really strong on citizen-led initiatives and sort of pulling together pressure campaigns for our government. Because
they hold the Mo government to account. They keep the Mo government conservative. It's great to have a group pulling from the right, because all the forces of the universe are pulling these guys to the left.
That's right. That's exactly right. So if you're seeing this, go to the Unified Grassroots website and put your name on that petition, because somebody has got to lead this up. So Naheed Ness says here, this is Saskatchewan's version of what the Alberta Prosperity Project is doing to fight for independence in Alberta. While our avenue in Saskatchewan is a bit different because our laws are a little bit different. We have a higher bar to jump over than Alberta does, just simply because of what Danielle Smith did real recently. We can still bring on change. If you're from Saskatchewan, please consider registering, and their website is unifiedgrassroots.com. And the left is absolutely losing their mind over this. They are absolutely melting down. How dare a Saskatchewan woman like Naheed Ness feel like she could talk to her own government? How dare she? I mean, these leftist lunatics are showing their tyrannical stripes in this moment, and they should be shamed into oblivion for this.
Outrageous things the left is saying about Nadine.
Yes.
Madness. She's a farm wife and a mother.
She's a mom of four. She's got a solid family. She's really dedicated to seeing these issues through. It is in no small part because of Nadine's hustling through COVID that we saw the end to crazy mandates in Saskatchewan. But here's the thing: the left knows this. And they know that she can be dangerous in pulling people to the side of the normal people of Saskatchewan. They know, the left knows that Naheed Ness can pull the government to the side of the people of Saskatchewan, and that is why they're so angry at her. Don't stop, Nadine. Keep going,
Nadine. Allow, and that's the thing. Whatever the outcome is, why not let the people of Saskatchewan decide instead of Carla Beck, leader of the NDP? Why does she get a louder voice than the regular people of Saskatchewan?
Well, that's exactly the point. That's exactly the point.
Let's go to, while we're on the topic of the NDP being censorious losers, we've got one in Alberta, Naheed Nenshi. There's a reason why the fundraising for the NDP in Alberta has completely collapsed. And they are doing, by the way, their very best to distance themselves from Jagmeet Singh. I think at their last AGM, at their last AGM, because if you are a provincial NDP member, like a member of the provincial NDP parties across the country,
You were a member of the federal.
right, it's one big thing. And so they're like, maybe we shouldn't do that because they're so toxic and useless. But now, oh God, he's so hard to. This honestly should be our daily dose of cringe, the daily cringe, because there's something about how he talks that is insufferable. But Naheed Nenshi says, being a proud Albertan means being a proud Canadian. We will not let Danielle Smith take that away from us. Danielle Smith isn't taking it away from you. She's going to give the opportunity for me to take it away from you. And others like me, just people who have a say. He has his own. The one thing I will give him credit for is his commitment to a cutesy URL, which we love over here at Rebel News. We love a good URL. Visit separatistsmith.ca and join the thousands of Albertans who are standing up for Canada. Okay. Imagine in this time in Alberta, positioning yourself on the side of Ottawa and not Alberta, but you've just imagined yourself to be this dude.
Same as Carla Beck in Saskatchewan. That's exactly right. Like taking the Ottawa position. And it's so funny because if you listen to normal, everyday, regular people in Western Canada, they do not identify as Canadian first. They identify as Albertans or Saskies first, and Canadian way far down that line. So this is great that Naheed Nenshi learned from Rebel about a cute URL, like a vanity URL. I bet he did. It is, you guys.
It is good. It is good.
It's kind of
a lot of people are like, I wish she was a separatist. Like, I feel like the NDP are threatening everybody with a good time. But let's listen to his cringe. There's something about his voice too that has the same Justin Trudeau effect on the inside of my ear. Like, I feel like somebody's licking the inside of my ear. That's what his voice does to me. Anyway, let's listen together.
Okay.
The very sovereignty of this great nation is under threat from the outside, and we have a premier who is threatening this nation from the inside. Smith has spent years pushing policies and ideas that would rip Alberta out of Canada piece by piece. She's endorsed the so-called Free Alberta strategy. She passed a Sovereignty Act. She's actively dismantling the RCMP. She's trying to pull Albertans out of the Canada Pension Plan. She remains one of the only premiers who will not sign agreements with the federal government on things that matter to Albertans, that matter to their pocketbooks every day, like childcare and pharmacare and dental care. Being a proud Albertan means being a proud Canadian, and we will not allow Danielle Smith to take that away from us. Visit separatistsmith.ca. Sign the petition. Add your name to the list of people, of Albertans who are standing up for this country. We believe in Alberta, we believe in Canada, and we're not going anywhere.
Ugh, so cringe. By the way, when he talks about the Sovereignty Act, he forgets to tell you the second part of the name. So the Sovereignty Act is Alberta's sovereignty within a United Canada Act.
Oh, did he forget? He did. He just conveniently forgot about that. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. But when he talks about Danielle Smith not working with the federal government on all of their bad ideas that cost us all so much in taxpayer dollars. I mean, what is not to love about what she's doing for Albertans right now? What is not to love? That she's pushing back against an abusive,
scary.
Look at this. Oh, they worked hard to make that look ominous, didn't they? Huh. Jeez. She won't stand up for our country. Well, she's the premier of a province. She's not supposed to be like Doug Ford on the Team Canada train. That's not her job. That's not her role. And yet. Oh, Naheed Nenshi.
Yeah, and he talks about a proud history of freedom-loving Canadians who know we're not the 51st state. Excuse me, you're the NDP. You are the last people who should be talking about how we're a bunch of freedom-minded people. All you want to do is crush our freedom. You are the ones who are mad because we weren't locked up in our homes long enough by Jason Kenney, that we kept going to church. I remembered Rachel Notley saying that the hammer's got to be dropped on Grace Life Church. And sure as heck, they took the pastor away, James Coates, for 30 days in jail. These are the people who are not fighting back on censorship legislation. They didn't complain when our Section 6 charter rights were violated by travel restrictions during COVID, or our freedom to gather to protest the government. So, and successive gun grabs of the federal government, which are an attack on our property rights. Like, the NDP are like, yeah, do that more, do it harder to Albertans. So for these guys to say, like, we're the ones protecting the freedom-minded ethos of Albertans, get bent.
Yeah,
no thank
and
you.
and saying that she doesn't support federal initiatives like $10 a day daycare. Well, no, it's almost like Danielle Smith knows that couples raising their own children and creating an economy where moms could perhaps, I don't know, stay home and raise their own children is a better idea than shoveling 6-month-olds into federally funded radical gender
Right.
day orphanages. She knows that. Like, Auntie Danielle knows what's best for the babies.
Right.
So to attack her on these things, she refuses to cooperate, or she's, she picks fights with the government. She picks fights with the federal government so that they will stop interfering in the lives of normal, everyday working Albertans.
We're not picking the fight. They are. We're just finishing it. Like, don't invite us to rumble behind the garbage cans and then get mad when we show up. Honestly, these people.
Oh, these people.
That's a man that's never been in a fist fight right there. Okay, Kat, we've got some chats and we'll hit an ad break and then we'll come back into, I guess, into Carney fallout.
Okay.
Because now Carney's leaning into like I'm an Alberta boy. Okay. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Then why are you writing op-eds in the Globe and Mail as a resident of Ottawa, as an Ottawa citizen? Okay. Cat Bark 68 gives us $10. It says, hello, you wonderful ladies. Sheila, could you please give me your thoughts on the Alberta Republicans? I am unsure about them. Look, we're going to see a lot of these groups pop up. I don't know which ones are going to have lasting power or not. It depends on their political organization. I don't think this whole thing is going to be led by a political party. I think it'll be a grassroots movement of people. And I am just learning about the Republicans the same way you are. So instead of listening to the mainstream media about what a bunch of kooks they are, radicals or whatever, I am waiting to see what they do next. And I'm going to learn about them with an open mind, and I hope you do too.
Yep. Perfect.
That's it. We've got another one. Maladjusted Quest gives us $10. Do you think any politician will repeal hate speech laws? Also, would Rebel ever do a comprehensive audit of all the money spent on and given to the natives? Okay, couple of things there. The hate speech legislation was actually repealed, at least as Section 13, by the Conservatives, thanks to my boss, Ezra Levant, and exposing just how bad it was, how it was being used to censor reasonable conversations of Canadians. Now, I don't think this Liberal government is going to stop labeling everything they don't like hate speech. In fact, they're already musing about reintroducing a version of the Online Harms Act, which died when they prorogued Parliament, because we saw Mark Carney complaining about the rush of online pollution from the United States, not, the foreign interference from China being dumped onto WeChat going after conservative candidates, but rather the Americans making fun of Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney online. That seems to be their big problem. So I don't think as long as the Liberals are in power, I don't think speech is going to get any freer. No. Comprehensive audit of all the money spent on and given to the natives. We cannot do that, and I'll tell you why. Because one of the first acts of the Justin Trudeau government was to repeal a piece of legislation the Harper government brought in, which required financial accountability on First Nations reserves. And so now you can't really see where the money's going, who's getting it all, or anything like that. But you could, it just disappears. There's no transparency.
There's no accountability, no oversight,
nothing.
No ability to search. Because we've looked at this.
Yeah, and I forget. I think it was Foam Lake, actually, if I have to recall. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation really spearheaded this initiative. There was a lady who lived, I think it was on Foam Lake or Duck Lake. Forgive me, it was like 15 years ago now. But she was basically, it was in Saskatchewan. Mm-hmm. And she complained about the lack of financial transparency on her reserve. She looked around and said, I'm pretty sure we're getting a ton of money. Why is the chief and his family so rich? Why are the rest of us living in squalor? She brings it up. Then she faces like social and financial ramifications from the band.
Right.
For, like, because the band does control housing. And then all of a sudden you go from an okay house to squalor if you start opening your mouth. And so the CTF really advanced this issue. The Harper government really paid attention to it and said, yeah, our First Nations people are owed accountability from their government. The same way if I want to go look and see what they're doing down at Lamont City Hall, I can find that out. I think that the mayor there used to make about $7,300 a year. And on First Nations reserves, frequently their chiefs make more than the prime minister. So that's a thing. So, and then we saw the scandal at Attawapiskat, which was in Charlie Angus's riding, where Chief Teresa Spence and her boyfriend at the time were accused of financial misappropriation of funds. Once again, the houses were in squalor, and she seemed to be doing pretty good. And then when an audit was ordered, she decided to go on a hunger strike in Ottawa, sleeping in a teepee. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat nothing but fish. What was it? Fish broth.
Fish broth. Moose broth.
Gonna survive.
I called her Chief Chicken Noodle, the first person ever on a hunger strike who didn't lose weight, and she wasn't sleeping in the teepee. She was going to a comfortable hotel room every single night. Justin Trudeau, by the way, went there and met with her. Interesting, he would meet with the chief who enriched her family and friends while her people did without, but he couldn't meet with the truckers.
And this is such a persistent argument from people who live on reserves: is there is no accountability, there's no financial oversight.
They deserve better.
Yes, without question, they deserve better. And this will come up, I think, again a little bit later in the show when we talk about what's happening in Alberta with some of the chiefs, I think.
Yeah. I mean, just everybody deserves to know what their leaders are doing with their money. I think that is a basic human right. It's all of our money. They're only entrusted to administer it. They should tell you what they're doing. I think
Canadian taxpayers. Canadian taxpayers should have that right to see where their money is going. If it's a good use of public funds, sure, of course.
Your level of accountability from your elected municipal government should not fall down on a blood quantum. Mm-hmm. That's racism. Mm-hmm. That's racism. Indigenous people deserve to know what's being done with the money that's meant to help them. Mm-hmm. And under the Liberals, it's not. And nobody else can do the work for them either.
It's almost like it's corrupt right from the top, just like everything else the Liberals touch.
Right. Suna Soul Silver gives us $5. If APP can convince the First Nations, then the mainstream media are going to start name calling them. Fear is rampant and strong, but Canada is starving for hope. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bonnie D gives us $6.99. Nenshi cannot be taken seriously. He's an embarrassment. Yes.
Agreed.
Okay. Yeah. Where's the lie? Yeah. Okay. I think we'll take an ad break and we'll come back to Carney.
Do you agree with me? It is time to make Canada great again. And that is why we at Rebel News have teamed up with MCGA Hats to introduce, the fashion sensation of 2025. Oh, and by the way, these beautiful hats They are made in Canada. We don't rely on cheap imports coming over from China. So what are you waiting for, folks? Show your pride. This is the perfect thing for a patriot to wear, or maybe there's a patriot in your life that you would like to gift such a hat. Please go to mcgahats.ca. That's mcgahats.ca. Don't be shy about it. Wear this cap. Let everybody know you want to make Canada great again.
What if governments are trying to reinvent the wheel when the greatest teacher of all times has already laid out the perfect blueprint for a constitution for a kingdom of love, faith, and freedom? Introducing the Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport. This special edition Freedom Passport captures the foundational truths of love, ethics, and freedom for all. It's a powerful reminder of Jesus' call to love one another and to be part of something bigger that you can carry with you every day. Join the movement, share the truth, and spread the love with your family and friends. Get your Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport at freedompassport.ca. And right now, all orders in North America come with free shipping and a free downloadable song with every purchase.
All right. So I know yesterday we talked in depth about Carney's, I don't know what it was. It was like a public torture session for Mark Carney. And it's
public
funny
humiliation ritual. Yeah, public
that's
humiliation ritual. Yeah,
exactly what it was. Trump talked for 29 minutes. Carney talked for 4. And Trump basically said, look at my nice stuff. You're still getting tariffs. Thanks for coming. And also told him, you're elected because of me. Basically telling him, I own you now. And I can either make you or break you. I think that's what was the unwritten thing there, or the unspoken thing. But Carney was, because the separatism thing is, it's not even the elephant in the room. It's the herd of elephants galloping, trotting, frolicking in the field on that. And when Trump is talking about 51st state, naturally Carney was asked about Albertans' push for Western separation. Let's hear what he has to say. This makes me want to gag.
Parlant de l'Alberta, que pensez-vous de l'idée de Daniel Smith d'encourager la tenue d'un référendum sur la souveraineté de l'Alberta?
Le Canada est plus fort que quand nous travaillons ensemble comme Canadiens et Canadiens. Et je suis albertain. Et je crois fièrement en Canada.
We're going to find the English version. Anyways,
okay,
I don't know if you heard him say that. Je suis Albertan.
Yeah, I think the question was, what do you think about Alberta and this and separation? And he said, as an Albertan, I'm an
Albertan, yeah. I think maybe we have this.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
He says Canada is stronger. Yeah. As an Albertan, I firmly believe that. You weren't born here. You lived here for a bit and then you left the way you should have for Ottawa and then
collected
England.
fancy passports from around the world.
Yeah.
Branched out, did all of your work for Goldman Sachs, and got your fancy degrees, and you haven't been an Albertan ever. There is no worse representation than an evil-doing global banker in bed with the WEF and the Liberal Party of Canada. There's nobody that is less Albertan than that man right there. And to say that they're I think he says later that he, that they're not gonna, that he's not gonna. Well, he did when he talked to Trump that Canada will never be a 51st state. He's basically telling Western Canadians that he's not open to hearing from us. Right. So that means, what we have to do, guys? We have to talk louder about this,
right? To
make it crystal clear what we're after in this point. But yeah, putting his head in the sand and saying it doesn't exist, it'll never happen. This is unthinkable. This isn't who we are. Well, that's not going to help.
Yeah, that's how I know you're not an Albertan, is if you don't think that Western separation is a real thing. because it's always in the background. Sometimes it comes to the foreground, as it is now, but it is always sort of just percolating under the surface, waiting to explode like some sort of geyser in Yellowstone National Park. Like, that's what it is all the time. It's there, it's there, it's there. It blows up and then it recedes, but I think it's not going to recede the way everybody is thinking so this time.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, wearing an Oilers jersey or cheering for the Oilers doesn't necessarily make you an Albertan. Like, it just doesn't. Like, if that's what passes for it in Carney's mind, I guess. Let's go into this next thing. We talked about it yesterday. Someone should tell Julia Wong to look inside yourself, Julia, because the government waste phone call coming from inside the house. So CBC thinks they got a real scoop here. We talked about it briefly yesterday. Premiers, and we talked about it briefly yesterday because Alexa interviewed that guy in Ottawa who brought it up. In a town known for government waste, where the government waste lives, he's like, yeah, that Alberta lady's wasting all kinds of money. By the way, I think a round trip flight to Florida is like, if you're buying it on short order, business class, $2,000. So she took a couple people with her. This ain't
plus
bad.
accommodation and food, like trips to Disneyland for a family of four cost more. So what are we complaining about? $10,000 is 1/5 the price of 1 month of alcohol in Melanie Jolie's foreign affairs budget. So this is
like Trudeau's annual bottled water, drink box water bottle sort of thing budget. Like, give me a break. I'm nitpicky about government waste, but I think based on the return on investment, the ROI here is well worth it, because we got 10% of tariffs and the rest you got 25. So she took, by the way, Rob Anderson, Jessica Pollock, and who's the other one? James Rajat. So our senior representative to the United States. So we took our provincial ambassador, our chief of staff, and Rebecca Pollock. So now we got $8,000 in flights and $2,000 for accommodations and food.
And transportation while you're there. I'm going to ask them to cost out my next family vacation. Honestly, they look really good at it. Yeah. Yeah, this is a nothing burger. But trust the CBC to try and make a mountain out of a molehill.
Look at my guess. Look at my guess. I knew it. Travel was billed at I play a little game with my kids, by the way. Mom guessed the grocery bill, and I can usually get it. Although inflation took me a while to get back in the groove, I can usually get it within $3 on a $400 grocery bill. I am really good, and that comes with growing up poor and knowing where your money goes. But I guessed this within $65. Okay, travel was billed at $7,935. So I don't know.
Yeah, all four stayed at a Marriott, which is a nice sort of middle of the road kind of hotel.
3-star.
Nice little continental breakfast down in the lobby in the morning. Just nice. Probably has a water slide. It's not staying in some crazy.
The waffle maker works. Like, I don't.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. But again, the $1.4 billion CBC, whose boss decided to go to the Olympics and then make us pay for her French vacation at the same time.
Yes.
And who are promised $150 million more to create content nobody cares about, are worried that the premier spent $10,000 to bring 4 people to Mar-a-Lago on a mission to save us billions in tariffs, and they're outraged.
Just insane. This is leftist logic. This is leftist math. The math ain't mathin'. How dare you? How dare you? But I mean, when this is all you got, this is what you're going to try and make of it, right? Like when this is all you got.
Right.
It's a pretty sad state of affairs.
why am I the one always filing for access records on the United Nations climate change conferences and the costs it takes to bring people there? It's never the CBC, but all of a sudden they turn into Scrooge McDuck, the penny pinching skinflint when Premier Smith goes to Mar-a-Lago. They can't hide their hate for her or Trump, like in this stupid story.
No. Oh,
honestly, this is a good news story. Look, we already like her. Stop.
Yeah.
We already like her.
Oh, just the best.
Oh, God. Okay. Mark Carney appears flustered when specifically asked what he said to Trump about stopping the 51st state tensions.
I heard you say, there's a difference between the president's comments around Canada becoming a 51st state as a wish versus a reality. You told him that Canada was not for sale. But many Canadians are offended and deeply angered by the fact that he keeps repeating this comment. So have you asked the president to stop calling Canada the 51st state?
Yes. Today.
Okay, specifically, what did you ask him?
Exactly what you just said.
But what words do you use? How did you ask him?
Look, I gave you an answer. Do you have a follow-up?
I'll say. What was his answer?
Well, we'll look. I don't know. He's the president. He's his own person. I would go back to showing the difference between a wish and a reality. We're very clear. I've been very clear publicly, consistently. I've been very clear in private. I was clear again in the Oval Office. Would be clear throughout. The president. He understands that we're having a negotiation between sovereign nations and that we will only pursue and accept a deal that's in the best interests of Canada, not just in the short term, but in the medium and long term for Canada.
So basically, he asked Trump to stop saying the thing that upsets all of the pearl clutchers in matching sweater sets, and Trump was like, no, I'm just gonna keep saying it. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep saying it.
There was one thing, I have to dig up my own tweet here. When Carney was having to sit there and listen to Trump badmouth Chrystia Freeland, and I thought, okay.
Oh, that was glorious. That was actually glorious. Yeah.
Because there's really nothing Carney could do. Now, if he had spoken up the way I believe a righteous man should have, when a friend and ally is being called a horrible person. Like if somebody said those things about you, Lise, actually, I think people would know better than to say anything mean about you in front of me. I just think they know. I think they just know. But this is Trump showing Carney who's boss, because Carney is having to sit there and listen while Trump is saying about Freeland, she's a horrible person, she's this and she's that. Carney is entrusted with the welfare of Freeland's child. He's her child's godfather. That is somebody who's supposed to be like a pseudo-parent ally to your family. Maybe she doesn't think it's a big deal, but I think the people who I chose to be the godparents of my children, should something ever happen to me, I trust them to raise them in the ways of Sheila. That they're, it's not just a religious obligation, for me it is, but also a values obligation.
Right.
That they stand up for what's right, and would never sit there and listen to somebody call me down. But he did. He just sat there and sucked on his teeth. And anyways, I said says a lot about the kind of man Carney is, but also Carney's between a rock and a hard place, because you say something and JD Vance is going to jump on you like a gargoyle.
That's right.
The old
That's
Zelensky
exactly
treatment.
right.
So
Well,
it was an embarrassment ritual. It really was.
It just goes to show you how unprincipled he is and how he doesn't value the people around him. That Donald Trump just crap talked your godson's mother to your face, and you didn't have a single thing to say about it? Not a single thing? How embarrassing. Was she in the room, Sheila? Like, do you know if she was?
No, I don't think so. I'm sure she wasn't. I mean, I would not have brought her to my first meeting with Trump, given how much he likes her. But there wasn't even, him saying, she works hard within our government, or we have a difference of opinions on Chrystia Freeland, but that's okay because we're friends moving forward. There were things that he could have said that didn't just stand there while Trump just drove over her a couple of times, but he didn't do anything. And it was just weird to watch. I thought, God, what kind of dude is that? Like, what kind of man is that?
Well, so telling though, so telling. He's willing to throw his very, very closest people under the bus to keep up the illusion that he's got it all under control. Like, it's just wild.
Olivia says she dug it up, so maybe we'll just show him saying he's this horrible person, and then just watch Carney. Again, you don't want to pick a fight with Trump. We saw what Zelensky did. You don't want to do that. But if you are a smart politician and a principled man, there are ways to navigate this. You could say, I realize that you have a strained relationship with Chrystia, but she works hard for Canadians, or something that would have shown that he was a man of loyalty and integrity, but he's just not.
Yeah.
From what pact?
USMCA.
No, it's fine. It's there. It's good. We use it for certain things. It's there. We have the USMCA is a good deal for everybody. I won't say this about Mark, but I didn't like his predecessor. I didn't like a person that worked for. She was terrible, actually. She was a terrible person. And she really hurt that deal very badly because she tried to take advantage of the deal and she didn't get away with it. You know what I'm talking about. But we had a bad relationship having to do with the fact that we disagreed with the way they viewed the deal, and we ended it. We ended that relationship pretty much. Trudeau, when I spoke to him, I used to call him Governor Trudeau. I think that probably didn't help his election, but when I spoke to him.
Okay, I think that's it. But yeah, he didn't say a single thing, when he's calling her a horrible person. She entrusted you with her child.
Well, he's squirming. He's squirming in that moment. He's uncomfortable with what Donald Trump is saying, but he's also not refuting it. He didn't take the opportunity to refute it. So, I mean, who needs enemies when you got friends like that, eh, Chrystia? Hey, girlfriend?
Look, and I don't spare any thoughts for her. I think she deserves everything that she's got coming to her, and I do definitely agree with Trump's assessment of her. I do. Yeah. But a good friend you got there, Chrystia.
Yep.
I guess there is no honor among thieves. Now, you don't need to do a good job in politics if you are a liberal, as long as you have the mainstream media on your side. Because look at what Le Journal de Montreal has on their front cover. Carney 1, Trump 0.
Okay.
Did you people watch the same thing I did? And as Esther points out, so he got the tariffs removed? Nope.
We're not. Yeah, Trump literally said there's nothing he can do to sort of fix this for now.
He literally said there's nothing to negotiate. He said, this is how it is. And then I guess he showed him around the White House. Here's my gold toilet, and here's my gold eagle, and here's all the new, I imagine they're velvet paintings of dogs playing cards that he's put up in the White House, whatever, showing him around. But there's nothing to negotiate.
He's got his own mugshot hanging in the White House right now, which I love.
I love it.
He makes all of the dignitaries coming from other countries walk right past his mugshot, and that tells them nothing has stopped me. Nothing is going to stop me. So get ready to deal with this level of tenacity in the room. Right. Just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Carney keeps talking about how these are negotiations between two countries.
There it is.
Trump has said there's nothing to negotiate. So I guess if you made it out of there without being verbally dressed down by J.D. Vance, I guess in the very, very low bar of Canadian media, I guess that's a win for Carney. I guess. Anyway.
Carney won. Trump 0.
Carney.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. Mark Carney says, I'm glad you couldn't tell what was going through my mind on what he was thinking when President Trump referred to Canada's artificial border and criticized Justin Trudeau. Anyway, let's watch this. Now I've got thoughts.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister Tonda McCharles, Toronto Star. I was watching your face through the meeting in the Oval Office, and I wondered what was going through your mind when the president talked about erasing the artificial border and how he criticized your predecessor and Madam Freeland.
Thank you for your question. I'm glad that you couldn't tell what was going through my mind as that was going through. With respect to the first point, the president has made known his wish about that issue for some time. I've been careful always to distinguish between wish and reality. I was clear there in the Oval Office, as I've been clear throughout on behalf of Canadians, that this is never going to happen. Canada is not for sale. It never will be for sale. Some things, as I said in the room, some things are never for sale. And he agreed with that.
I'm not sure he
I distinguish between the two. And then with respect to the importance of reestablishing a constructive relationship for negotiations of a partnership, of an economic and security partnership, which is what we were here for. I look forward, not back, and I think we established a good basis today.
I'm not sure that Trump agreed with him. And so why did Mark Carney walk out and lie?
I don't think he did. I'm pretty sure he said, well, no, it's always on the table. Or I'm not going to stop talking about it. It takes time. Right. What takes time is figuring out the 51st state, I think is what Trump meant. While Carney says, no, it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
Owners of Canada.
Yeah. It consulted with the owners of Canada, and it's never going to happen. And then he says, and Trump agreed with me. We all watched it. He said, well, you could see Trump go like this. His little like Trumpy, like when he says somebody says something he disagrees with, but he's going to be cheeky about it. When he's like, and Canada's not for sale, and you can see Trump go. And then he goes, it takes time. It takes time.
We're going to see about that. Yeah. We'll just see about that.
Anyway, sure. By the way, speaking of Mark Carney, you'll never guess where the boss is. He went to he's on a tax haven mission again this week. Tour. So he went to Isle of Man, I think a week ago.
Yes. Fascinating.
To go to try to talk to the elderly man in the residential house where Brookfield IOM, Isle of Man, is situated. It's a tax haven. And the elderly gentleman who owns the property is apparently the head of Brookfield Isle of Man. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And then so today, Ezra flew to the Bermuda bike shop where Mark Carney hid billions of dollars. He tells a little joke he wrote a little joke. I was just sort of reading what he wrote to describe the video. And he said, the Bermuda Triangle, known for its disappearances, in this case, where Mark Carney disappeared a bunch of money from the CRA. So do we have a produced clip of that yet, Olivia, to show? Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's show it. Ezra at the airport wearing his Bermuda shorts because he has to always stay on theme.
Hi, everybody. Ezra Levant here. I'm at the airport again. It's bright and early in the morning. I'm going to Bermuda In fact, I'm wearing the closest thing I have to Bermuda shorts. I'm not going for a little vacation, though. In fact, I'm not even staying the night. I'm flying 3 hours to Bermuda. I've got 4 hours on the ground, and then I'm coming back. You know, hotels are so expensive there. They're around $1,000 a night. So I'm going to try and do my work in 4 hours. What am I doing on the ground? And that's 4 hours, including traveling from the airport to the town and back and checking into the... So I only really have 2 hours to do stuff about an investigative project we've got going on for the Carney-Files.com. Well, I'm going to the main city in Bermuda called Hamilton, and I am looking for Mark Carney's cash. He's stashed the cash in Bermuda, and he did this trick in the Isle of Man. You might recall a few weeks ago I went to this little tax-free haven between the UK and Ireland called the Isle of Man. What's so amazing for oligarchs and billionaires is that they can hide their money there. There's lots of secrecy in their banking, and they pay their extremely low tax in the Isle of Man instead of around the world where they conduct their business. Well, Brookfield Asset Management did that in Bermuda with tens of billions of dollars. In fact, Brookfield Asset Management is so big, it's got $1 trillion under management. It's sort of like a slightly smaller BlackRock. They do whatever they want. They do whatever tax tricks they want, and the government has to catch up with them. In fact, right now, the Canada Revenue Agency is in court against Brookfield, saying that Brookfield hid and illegally avoided tens of millions of dollars in taxes from a foreign currency deal. How does that work? Mark Carney is the Prime Minister. He's appointing the Justice Minister. He's appointing the National Revenue Minister. At the same time, the Justice Minister and the National Revenue Minister are suing Brookfield. But what's even crazier, Mark Carney hasn't even sold his Brookfield stock. He's got $6.8 million worth of stock options, and he insists on holding on to them. He put them in a blind trust, but he knows what they are. They're stock options in Brookfield. He knows whatever he does as Prime Minister will affect those. So why doesn't he just sell them? Is he hedging his bets? Does he think if things don't work out for he'll go back to Brookfield or something? Like, it's just so crazy to me. He set up something he calls screens. So whenever an issue arises in government that touches on Brookfield, someone will say, hey boss, you got to step out of the room now because they're talking about Brookfield. Well, his entire cabinet knows that's the boss's company. How do you have a screen for Brookfield, which is so huge, touches on everything, and everyone in the cabinet knows that's the Prime Minister's company? You don't think that they're aware of that and conscious of that? It's so crazy. Anyways, back to Bermuda. We're going to do what we did in the Isle of Man. We're going to find out the address of Brookfield in Bermuda, and if it's what I think it is, it's another sham, a shell company with a straw man just to fly the Bermuda flag and say, yeah, this is where we're going to pay taxes. It's tax trickery, and you know, on paper it's legal, although like I say, the Canada Revenue Agency says what Brookfield's been doing is illegal and is suing them. We know that Brookfield has already been called Canada's largest tax dodger, but here's my main point. If you're the Canadian Prime Minister like Mark Carney is, you're imposing taxes on the little people. Shouldn't you pay the same taxes that you force Canadians to do? We all can't set up our companies in Bermuda and the Isle of Man. If you're a farmer growing canola in Saskatchewan, you can't say, oh no, sorry, I'm not paying taxes here because I'm located offshore in Bermuda. It's a trick that only slippery oligarchs like Brookfield can get away with. Why is Mark Carney doing that? I'm going to go and try and find out some of the answers to this. I've only got a couple hours on the ground. And I suppose that's my last point. Why am I doing this? Why isn't the massive CBC with their, what's it now, $1.65 billion a year, why didn't they think that might be of interest? Why didn't CTV? Why didn't the Globe and Mail? It's about $400 to get there, about $500 to get back. I'm not staying overnight. Hotels are $1,000. Between my videographer and I, we're probably going to spend about $2,000. It's a lot of money for us. It's a drop in the bucket for the CBC. Why didn't they go there? Do you doubt for a second that if Pierre Poilievre or some other conservative had offshore holdings worth millions of dollars in a tax haven, do you doubt that they would camp out there and go deep on it? You know they would. We're doing the job that the regime media won't. If you want to help us out, follow along at thecarneyfiles.com. And if you think this work is valuable, feel free to chip into our crowd fund. Unlike the CBC, we don't take a dime from the government, and we never will. All right, I got to get on the plane.
What a gem. What an absolute gem. There's Ezra. Okay, there's Ezra jetting around the world to tell the stories that the CBC is too lazy to. They're too lazy to. While always in the back of his mind thinking about Saskatchewan canola growers. I mean, I couldn't love him anymore. I just couldn't love the guy anymore. And I can't wait to see what he figures out about. There he is. There he is. Look at this. Yeah, Brookfield is a bunch of shady shysters, guys. Like they got their tentacles all around the world to make sure that they're not paying taxes the same way you and I are forced to by our federal government. And this is the guy we have as our prime minister that does this.
Yeah. You know what was the most horrific part of that whole report? That it is only 3 hours from Toronto to Bermuda. That's shorter than me to Toronto.
Yeah. Isn't that
this
crazy?
is a big country. This is a big country. This sort of went by the wayside yesterday, but let's talk about it real quick. In case you're curious about how shady the tentacles of Brookfield asset management are, this story broke yesterday thanks to the incredible work of Blacklock's reporter. An audit of a Carney-linked firm. It's $157 million Canadian Forces fiasco. And this time our troops paid the price. So auditors just blew the lid off a $157 million military relocation contract gone horribly wrong. The job was to handle 12,000 armed forces moves a year. The result, errors, delays, chaos, collapsed morale, a full-blown operational failure. This was broken by Blacklocks, as I say. And who is the chair of the parent company? Brookfield Asset Management, when this contract was handed out. Until January 16th of this year, the detail was never mentioned in the audit. Brookfield Global Relocation. So this was while Carney was advisor to the Liberal Party of Canada, who was the prime minister, instead of advisor to the prime minister, which is how you skirt the conflict of interest rules. Anyways, Brookfield Global Relocation was paid to make moves seamless for our soldiers. Instead, it buried them in red tape and confusion and left families in limbo. Meanwhile, Carney was advising the Liberal Party, not the prime minister, just the party leader. Neat trick that helped him dodge conflict of interest laws, while firms linked to him were profiting from government contracts. And then from there, I go down to, say that this is just part of more of the same. So if you think this is going to change, it's going to get worse. As I say, they're not cleaning up their act. They're just hiding the bodies better.
Holy Hannah.
Yeah.
So while our armed forces are forced to buy their own gear on Amazon because they're not properly outfitted for the job that they're required to do, while our armed forces are forced to sleep in their cars because there is a critical shortage of housing on base, while they're forced to use food banks to feed their families, Mark Carney's Brookfield, what is it? Global relocation. This is just another arm of Brookfield. Like there's so many tentacles to this. You can't even catch them. There's so many swirling all over. They're stealing the money that they've been prepaid by the government to help families relocate while families are separated from each other and thrown into chaos, and they just take the money and run. this is what we have for a prime minister. Like, what? And thanks again so much to Blacklock's reporter. They do just incredible work on behalf of Canadians without any government subsidies like the CBC has. And yet here's little Blacklock's breaking this story while the CBC sits on their hands and reports on $10,000 spends by Danielle Smith. This is insane. This is insane. $157 million. $157 million?
And it was chaos. It didn't do what it was supposed to do. And this was while Carney is whispering in the prime minister's ear.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Well, conflict of interest much?
Yeah.
Unethical much?
Yeah.
Corrupt?
Did you
much, Mark Carney?
You and I have never talked about this, but maybe people at home, you could let us know. Did you watch the Apple TV show Severance?
No, because I don't have Apple TV.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, that's okay. I got it just so I could watch Severance. There's this company called Lumen, and nobody quite knows what it does, but it also does everything. And anyways, you don't need to know what the severance procedure was, but it's this sinister company that does everything, but also this thing that nobody quite really understands or knows about. And you don't really know you don't really know the motives of the company, but it's quite sinister, and everybody works for the company and it does everything, and their logos are everywhere. We're living that right now with Brookfield Asset Management.
This is Brookfield. They got their fingers in every pie. They got their tentacles in every sort of business that can possibly make them money, and they've infiltrated. Now they've got our government. Now they've got our government. Holy crap, Canada, we are in for a ride. Like, get used to this. Get used to this. After 10 years of liberal scandal, it's just going to continue. It's just going to continue. It's so wild because while everyday regular Canadians would be prosecuted immediately if they pulled something like this.
In the United States, you'd be in jail for so long for this stuff.
I mean, honest to goodness. Honest to goodness. And who's meant to investigate? Who's meant to investigate?
I don't know. Brookfield Global Investigation Services. I don't know.
Great news, everybody! They've been given $200 billion to investigate the corruption that the other arm of the what is that little animal that I'm thinking of? Why can't I think of it? What is that animal with the? Thank you. With the tentacles. What is that animal called? Yeah, they're octopus-like conglomerate. Ugh.
Yeah. You mean Brookfield aquatic tentacled animals? Like, everything's just going to have Brookfield in front of it. Yes. You know who's going to investigate the Green Slush Fund when Parliament goes back? Brookfield Forensic Auditing Services, probably. Like, anyway, we're living in an Apple TV show. We've got a couple of things we'll get to before we wrap up the show, and then we'll do our daily cringe. Alexa Lavoie was out on the streets of Ottawa, scrumming the Conservative caucus as they left their first caucus meeting post-election loss. And so she was able to talk to Andrew Scheer, who once said some pretty mean things about us to a CBC panel, and see where that got him. Although I don't hold a grudge. I actually like the work that he's been doing as of late. But anyways, let's see her interaction with Andrew Scheer.
Hello, Mr. Scheer. Do you have a minute to comment? I just want to know how the Conservative Party will work to unite a Canada that is completely divided in half that believe that Canada is great and the other one say that it's broken.
Well, we need to fight to lower taxes, to increase individual liberty and freedom, and allow every region to develop the industries that employ so many people.
Do you believe that Pierre Poilievre is still the best leader?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Have a good night. Hello, Mr. Scheer.
That was fine, but could he look at her? Like, that was obnoxious.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he could have slowed his roll just a tiny bit and engaged.
Just turn and acknowledge that she's a human woman. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of that's a little bit disappointing to see, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
Okay. honestly, I don't care if politicians like us. In fact, I appreciate when they're scared at us. I like that. If you're scared of me, perfect. I'm doing my job. I don't want you to think of me as I don't know, some sort of boot polisher on your behalf.
Right.
I don't want that, but at least act like a normal human. Even if you don't want to talk to us, treat us with human dignity. And I don't think that was done there, even though the answer was probably good. I just noticed that he was like,
little bit of eye contact goes a long way, Andrew Scheer. A little bit of eye contact, a little bit of engagement, nice engagement.
Yeah, and Alexa could not have been nicer. Could not have been nicer. Also, she was able to catch Pierre Poilievre. So let's hear from Poilievre on her very polite question to him. I hope the Conservatives are watching. We're nice. We ask nice questions. We're not going to be sycophantic to you, but we're not going to be wild either.
Congratulations. Let's do it again, buddy. Thank you. Congratulations. How are you? Congratulations. Good to see you.
Great job, brother.
Still haven't gotten my beauty sleep though. How are you?
Very good to see you, man. Very good to see you.
What a team.
The Gill Caucus.
Irish name. Irish, three Gills.
I appreciate you're very busy.
A moment to comment.
Good answer to this. What makes you?
You don't have like a quick just comment for the Conservative voter in Canadian?
We have to unite and move forward. We got a bright future.
Right,
So we're going to defeat this government in the future, and we're going to bring home a bright future for the country.
What makes you the best leader to go forward? I know you have a good answer.
Many things. It's a long list.
Okay.
But thank you very much for being out today, guys.
All right, thanks, Pierre.
Do you see what Poilievre did? Thanked the independent media for being out there, looked at Alexa in her face, answered the question, and kept going. He looks so much better than Scheer does.
I think,
and I'm not mad
Anna
at Scheer. I don't dislike him.
Anna gave her a little wink too. I think a little hello, a little, hello, a little friendly nod there at the beginning. But yeah, they're very much still processing. I think we have to give them a tiny bit of grace. Okay. They're still very much processing a really hard fought battle and bitter loss. It was a bitter loss for the Conservative Party of Canada. It was a bitter loss for the people of Canada who were really, really banking on change and looking forward after 2 years of soaring polls to see it all fall apart in the end. We got to give them a little bit of grace. However, there are some questions that the Conservative Party must grapple with at this time. And time will tell whether they're brave enough to grapple with those questions in public. Truly, we gotta look at things. You can't lose 3 times in a row and say, no, we're on the right track. You just can't. Something's gotta change over there at the Conservative Party.
You know, I got to tell you something that I noticed there, and I watched it the first time through and then the second time through. Anna's very middle class handbag there. That's a nylon Longchamp bag. It's about $170. It's very, very middle class. I was like, you know, that is a definite choice. It sends a message that, you know, like you probably could have had something far, far more expensive, aired on the side of this is my practical mom.
That's
Instead of being Jagmeet Singh and his wife, she opted for your middle class investment piece, but also practical because it's nylon. You can wipe it. You don't have to be careful with it. This is, you know, good for her. I just noticed that. I'm like, that is a strong message.
She's got little kids, right? So it's probably full of like Hot Wheels and yogurt tubes and cheese strips in the bottom of that purse.
Yes.
Yeah, she's a doll. Yeah,
there's definite wipes in there for sure.
100%.
All right. Let's do these last 2 chats. We'll do the Daily Cringe and then we'll wrap it up. We've got Pine Grizz gives us $20, and I don't see a comment there, but thank you for that. If we missed it, I'm sorry. Maybe we'll get to it tomorrow. Schofield 10, $5. Ezra, you missed out making your knees video stars. The thought of that is worth a $5, though. Do you know what? Ezra doesn't even show his knees in shorts. He's a very modest man. His Bermuda shorts do cover his knees. So
okay, board short style. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I still want to see it though. I still want to see it. Oh, dad cargo pockets. Yeah, you need some place for the keys and wallet. That's
keys,
where they go.
wallet. Yep. Phone.
Yep. Wine bottle opener. Got to have that handy when you're going to Bermuda. Even
barbecue lighter. Vitamins.
Utility belt, but on the side of your pants. Oh, that's funny.
Yep.
That's funny.
All right. Let us hit the daily cringe. And it is
my favorite. Okay. Get ready.
So this comes by way of Matt Walsh, who I enjoy immensely. He says, this is what he shows us. This statue of a woman. He said they tear down statues of American heroes and replace them with statues of random obese black women. Because that's because the left has no historical heroes. I'm cringing from the dancing. Everyone who was born before approximately 2005 is inherently problematic. Okay, let's watch and listen to this video because they are. I don't know. Let's go.
And communicate those inner worlds that we have, and sometimes we misinterpret with one another, to try and create an understanding and basically encourage empathy.
Have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lead.
And communicate those.
Do you feel more empathetic?
I feel like that looks a lot like me. Okay, on a Saturday morning, as I'm schlepping from the washer to the dryer. Why are they doing this?
What is this? Why do they look like they're in Heaven's Gate? Like,
everyone, wear your cult uniforms. No, but what is this? What are we celebrating right here? My goodness, like yoga pants. Listen, put on your ugliest, schleppiest t-shirt and your yoga pants. We're going to do a huge bronze, put it in Times Square and call in the choir. What are we? 12-foot plus size black woman statue. Okay, this is what we're celebrating.
I don't I just want to know about the woman that this is modeled after. Like, if you're like, Sheila, we're gonna make a bronze statue of you, make it huge, put it in Times Square, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna need 8 weeks because I'm gonna be the best version of me before I am memorialized in bronze.
This is me in yoga pants on a Saturday morning folding laundry look. This is what this is. No makeup, just hair and an S
right now. You know,
like I can't even show you what I have on the bottom. I can't.
Right, like this is if I showed up and I was like, okay, bronze me, and they're like, done. Who thought this was a good? How much? I want to know how much this cost and who paid for it. I think it was the taxpayers of New York, probably through a grant.
1 billion% it's through an arts grant. 1 billion% it's through an arts grant. Whew. Well, this is what passes for public art all over the world.
Do you know what? On the upside, outside of the cringe singing and dancing, which I don't believe has any relevance to what we're looking at here, I am happy to know that my current state, quite literally, sweatpants, is an art form. Right. I mean, there's hope for us all.
Don't. Yes, you should be put in the Louvre. As should I. In my Saturday morning laundry gear. Yeah.
Like, we're maybe right up there apron with Leonardo's Michelangelo. This is
Behold.
Yes.
My
champion sweatpants from Costco. Look at her. A vision.
Vision of loveliness. Just an absolute stellar vision of loveliness. Well, listen, if that can happen for her, it can happen for us, Sheila. So dream.
Do you know what? Do you know what? Please, Lord, I want for me what you've given to her. That's what I want.
Yes, I want to be in my bathrobe in bronze in my hometown of Pence, Saskatchewan one day. Okay, new life goal unlocked. And you know what? I want it to be paid for with public funds through an arts grant. Amen. From my lips to Jesus' ears.
Move over bronze sheep in downtown Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta, because we do have bronze sheep down there because we have a sheep herd that is sort of like the local kitsch that cuts the grass, and they've been around for a long time. And there's a few bronze sheep downtown. Well,
Sheila Gunn Reid in bronze.
I'm a bronze shepherdess. I prefer. Let me go down there in my sweatpants and bronze me. This is what I want.
He's the best.
All right, that's it. Daily cringe. If you guys have examples of daily cringy moments, daily cringe you'd like us to react to,
we want them.
Find us on X. Send them to us. Oh, Sheila@rebelnews.com. You can send them to me that way. But I want them. I want to react. But yes, I'm happy to know that I could be a bronze statue on my most mediocre of days. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I feel flattered already. Bronze me. All right. Well, everybody, that's the show for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Lise, thanks so much for, you put in like 3.5 hours of streaming over the course of 2 days with us here at Rebel News. We appreciate you so much.
It's the favorite part of my week. It's an absolute favorite part of my week. And don't forget, everybody, Friday, 7 p.m. at Two Rivers Distillery in Calgary. We'll see you there. Sheila, please remember to remind people tomorrow and Friday that's where we'll be.
Yes, will do. I will do. I will. I'll put it on the list, and then hopefully you'll also send me a reminder because my list is long. I will. Olivia, thanks for working hard behind the board to put the show together for us and bring up stuff on the fly as we throw to them when they're not on the list. We appreciate you for that. Everybody who makes sure the show is there for you to click on whenever you want to click on it and however you want to watch it. Thank you for that. There's a lot of moving parts. They don't get the credit they so rightly deserve. And thanks to everybody who pitches in a little bit to keep the lights on here at Rebel News. We couldn't do it without you. We'll never take a penny from the government to do the work that we do. So we rely on the support of our viewers at home. And David Menzies, I believe, is out in the field doing a report on coyotes.
Oh.
I feel like I should have been brought in as an expert on that, but that's okay. Okay, I'll apply my expertise after the fact. And as David Menzies always says, stay safe and stay sane.
Ezra Levant here. I am in beautiful Bermuda, and this is what I came for, not the beaches. Brookfield Asset Management is stashing tens of billions of dollars of assets in the Bermuda tax haven so they don't pay taxes at home. But you can only see my story at thecarneyfiles.com. That's coming out tomorrow, thecarneyfiles.com.